Great standing stones can be found all over the British Isles. It is thought that in Britain and Ireland alone, there are over 50,000 of these specifically placed stones. The issue is that we know almost nothing about the history and meaning of these stones. They were erected by a long-forgotten people, of a social or religious nature we have no concept of. Some are patterned by drawings or words in a language we have yet to decipher. Throughout Scottish history, these stones have always existed and have always been a conduit for the fanciful and supernatural. Today we look at one in particular, which has a strong connection to the new year, the Stane O Quoybune. Way up north, on the mainland of Orkney, in the parish of Bursey, there stands an ancient stone by the name of Quoybune. No one knows where the stone came from, or who put it there. For thousands of years, it has been known by some to be an ancient druidic monument. Others tell that the 4-metre-tall megalith is the remains of a petrified giant who once ruled the region. Whichever the truth may be, we can all agree that the history of the stone is long forgotten, but its magical properties certainly lived into the modern day. It has long been part of the local folklore that on the eve of New Year, the great stone of Quoybune would tear itself from the earth and walk the 200 yards to the Loch of Boardhouse, where it would dip its head and take a cool, refreshing drink from the cold water before returning to its original spot. It was told by the locals that whomever beholds this process would not live to see the next year. For this very reason, it was not considered safe or smart to leave the house after the midnight bells, and it was especially foolish to try and spot the stone. Many tales over the years tell of individuals who wished to see the stone or prove the myth, and according to each and every story, none returned. One tale in particular comes from the 19th century and tells of a young man from Scotland. The young man came up from Glasgow to the island for Hogmanay, or New Year's Eve. There he was told the myth of the Stane O Quoybune in a local pub. The Glaswegian laughed at such a ridiculous story, and to prove the locals wrong, he would set out at night to begin a long vigil of the stone. Many of the patrons of the pub begged the man to stay till morning, and advised him against such a foolish quest. But nonetheless, the man left and headed out into the bleak darkness. As the hours passed, the man began to feel less at ease with his surroundings. Slowly fear and eventually terror began to grip the man. A horrible shiver transversed his spine, as if the icy hand of death had run a cold finger down his back. Far off, he heard the church bells ring in the new year, and with each clang in the distance, his shivering legs began to increase their speed, until he was at a frenzied pace, running straight towards the stone and the loch. His eyes turned to the great stone of Quoybune, and for the merest fraction of a second, he believed it to move. It was then that the young man fell, unconscious, to the ground beneath him. Come dawn of the first day of the new year, the locals from the pub went searching for the man, and found him lying in a field, between the stone and the loch. Slowly, the young Glaswegian regained his senses, and told of his previous night's adventures. He swore down that he beheld the stone move before falling unconscious. Part of him even believed that it was the stone itself that knocked him down. Either way, the man wholeheartedly apologised to the locals for spurning their beliefs, and never again would he laugh at the Stane O Quoybune. It is not noted if the man died before the new year was done. It is said, however, that he returned to Glasgow soon after this event, and was never again seen on the island of Orkney. Another mysterious tale of the Great Stone concerns a ship that was wrecked off the coast of Mersey. It was on a cold, stormy day in December that a merchant ship ran foul of some rocks on the coast. The ship itself was battered and beaten, casting all the sailors into the icy sea. From a crew of over 10, only one man survived and was washed ashore, where his near-frozen body was found by a local farmer. The farmer took the man home to his cottage and sat him by the fire, giving him warm food and strong whiskey. Over the following days, the man would slowly regain his composure, and it was during this time that he first heard the tale of the Quoybune stone. The man was so enticed by this mysterious tale that he became determined to see the stone for himself and discover if such wondrous power truly existed in the world. Come the last day of the year, the man thanked the farmer and his family for saving his life, and despite their protest, ventured out in search of the great megalith. Eventually the man came upon the stone just as the sun was setting. Island locals, returning home for the night, claim to have seen the man climb atop the ancient stone and perch there waiting for the midnight bells. The specifics of what happened that night to the sailor and the stone will always remain a mystery. But there is one piece of knowledge we know for certain, that the first light of a new year dawned over the crushed and broken body of the foolish sailor. It was thought by many on the island that the stone had rolled over the man on its journey to the loch, and by doing so, fulfilled the deadly prophecy. I believe the moral found in both of these tales is one of respect. Respect for people and traditions that you may have come across in your life, even if those traditions seem strange or foolish to you. In fact, especially if those traditions seem strange or foolish. I will leave by wishing you all a happy new year, and hope that it brings good fortune to you and yours. Thank you for listening, and I would like to give a special thank you to all my patrons who continue to support my work and these tales. Each and every one of you have greatly helped me this year, and I offer you my most sincere thanks, and wish you all a happy new year. Oddly enough, the tale of the Quoybune Stane is not the only one of its kind in Orkney. As I said in the beginning of this video, the ancient megaliths can be found all over Scotland, and each one has many tales or superstitions connected to it. On the Isle of Rousey, there stands the Yetna Stene, or giant stone. It was believed that the stone had once been a giant, whose body had been petrified by the warming rays of the sun. Local tradition states that for one night a year, the giant is released from his stone prison. This so happens to be on the first night of a new year. The Yetna Stene comes to life and walks down to the shore of Loch Stockness, where the giant drinks from the water before returning to its year-long vigil. In other versions of the story, the giant reaches the loch by taking 2 great leaps. And some say that there may be wondrous things under the stone, which can only be seen while the giant is away. I found it interesting just how much similarities there were between the Yetna Stene and the Stane O Quoybune, but of course, the latter seems far more dangerous to cross. Thank you all again, and I will see you soon for some more Scottish folklore. Slán Siva.